Call to order. Town Prescott Valley Work Study Session, April 7th, 2022. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kinsinger.
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson. Here. Councilmember Hepperly. Here. Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Councilmember Packard.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt. Here. Mayor Plaguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice logo.
Mr. Balmer, you're the one-man show this evening. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you for inviting me back to talk with you this afternoon about the general plan. I know it's been a long process, but we're coming to the end, and so we thought we would give you an update as we get into the final part of the public hearing process. I know we gave you several things to look at before today's meeting, and on the dais in front of you is the most recent version of the general plan. You see it has the new logo on the cover. We've incorporated the colors of the logo in. Also, it incorporates all of the changes we have received to date from everyone who's made comments. You have a list, and it's at your dais today, of the State Land Department comments. They gave us the most comments of anyone. We've incorporated them all in, and I'll talk about it a little bit as we do the presentation. But you received in your packet pages that had yellow highlighting on it. From that time, we've taken those pages and updated the chapters so we could do a complete book. You're getting the early look at it. This is the same book that will be given to the Planning Commission next Monday evening when they do their meeting. And then 2 weeks from Monday, we will be having a special second Planning Commission meeting out at the school district's office, because we need to have them at 2 locations within the community, and they will have this as well. So our plan is to take any comments you may have, any that the Planning Commission may have at their meeting on the 11th, any from citizens that we get, and this book will be updated one more time, and it will be the one you receive in May. So we're still collecting comments, but we wanted to show you where we are today, and so everybody is on the same page as far as the text that we're looking at.
Mr. Balmer, question.
Yes.
So Humboldt Unified School District 425, what time?
It is 5:30.
5:30. And that's open, that's when we expect public to come and comment?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, we're going to be working on putting out a press release. Now that we have the book and it's up to date and all the comments are in it, we will put it on our website. We'll do a press release to tell people it's there so everybody can look at it and give us any comments they care to.
And in fact, the public will be encouraged to comment at both public hearings in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes. So with that, you had all those materials. Let me go through the presentation. Some of it you'll have heard before, but some of it is for the television audience so they know where we stand and where we're going from here. Just a bit of background. Our current general plan is on the right. The communities are required to have a general plan. We're all required to update it once every 10 years. Ours was adopted in 2013, so we'll have it on the election for this fall in November. So we have state guidelines that we need to follow, and we've been following those. You saw those last summer as you put in place the process we're working on this afternoon. Some of the goals that we had earlier that you had that were directed to me and to the staff are make the new plans shorter. It's black and white. Can we put in more color? Can we put in more graphics? Can we put in more tables? Make it read easier, more like a magazine than a dictionary. And focus on goals rather than so many graphs and tables. What is it we really want to accomplish? So zero in on those goals and objectives and retain the good ones and recommend some new ones to adapt for the last 10 years. And you'll see we have done all of those things in the draft that you've got today. So this is the new draft. It has all the new colors on it, of the new logo. We've changed the colors around the borders and on the chapters to reflect the new colors. So you can see we have it color-coded so it's easier to follow. If you look at the book, if on the top it's red, you know what chapter you're in and not the blue chapter. And so it will be much easier for people to follow what's where in the new document. So you can see all of the different chapters. Those are all things that are required by the state of Arizona. We have to touch on each one of those issues, and that's why each one is an element in our plan. So some of the proposed changes from the earlier draft are to incorporate responses from the State Land Department. Those weren't in the earlier draft, but you have the table. They've all been included. We added an appendix because we had so many really great comments on our 20-question survey and our top 5 things survey. We put them all together, put them right at the end so everybody can see what we have. And it is really, it was a great compliment to your residents that 956 of them would take the time to respond to a survey about your general plan. Normally, when you do this, you have a dozen meetings in the neighborhood and maybe 10 people come to each meeting, and you don't get a lot of feedback. This way, 956 people commented. That is really amazing, and that is great. We've updated the circulation map, which was a big issue earlier on, to show new roads, proposed roads, the width of certain roads. We showed new cross-sections for the streets that were of concern to the Public Works Department. We updated the land use map to reflect some new changes. We updated the environmental chapter, the key chapter as far as water and water use and water future goes. And some of the other things that we have are the final 2020 census information. Earlier in the fall, we had the estimates and the 1999s, and so now we've got the 2020 data all included in there. So the 20-question survey that I just mentioned, we're not going to go through all of these. You have them in the appendix. But we had 502 people who responded. There's a pattern. You can see the pattern as far as what people like, don't like, where are they on the chart. But we tried to incorporate all of these responses into the new goals and policies that the plan contains.
Mr. Vollmer, real quick on the questions. Were those solicited surveys sent out to specific individuals, or did just whoever wanted to respond to our survey were able to reach out to us?
Anyone could, but they could only respond once. We had it on our website.
Gotcha.
And so anybody could log in.
Okay. Thank you.
So some people are more committed on particular issues than others, and that's why you might see the bars are a little longer one way or the other than there might be if you talk to 100 people specifically.
Okay. Just want to make sure it was clear that the survey wasn't sent out. It was
Right.
based off of...
It was a random survey. It wasn't a
wanted to respond
structured,
to us.
stratified survey that we did. You're correct,
you.
Mayor. So then the top 5 things, 454 people, and you can see the things that people like best, things that they would like to change. The things they'd like to change, we've reflected in goals and policies in the plan so that you have direction, they have direction on where to go from here to achieve these over the next 10 years. Some of the things when we asked people, could they describe Prescott Valley in 3 words, they did, and some of them put 20 words. I mean, some of them were very committed to this. But you can see on the left, the ones that people had positive were very positive things. The ones on the right that people were concerned about, there's a pattern there which basically says Prescott Valley is a growing community. You have growing pains of every community. Traffic is an issue, housing an issue, parks are an issue. It just takes time to catch up as new housing growth goes ahead. Other things lag, but you were working on it, but citizens see that as an issue and more one that we can publicize rather than actually as being a problem. How would you like to describe Prescott Valley in 3 words 10 years from now? I thought this was really interesting. Lots of positive comments. People have a positive view of the future for Prescott Valley. They see it as a great place, becoming an even greater place over the next 10 years. You can see what they have. One of a kind, vibrant, progressive, amazing, delightful, opportunities, forward thinking. All great things to have your citizens thinking about your community. So the new goals and policies we've talked about are try to improve the image and streetscape. That was an issue that came up. You've raised it. Citizens raised it. More attractive building design. We've been working on something about design guidelines that can be used to help people in their architectural thoughts as they come to the community. Compatibility between land uses is an issue. You have lots of residential, you have lots of vacant properties that are going to develop, and they're probably not going to be single-family residential. So how do these come together over a common property line? That's something we're looking at. Street maintenance, level of service is an issue that's ongoing everywhere, but level of service is very important in terms of traffic volume as well, too. Heavy streets get heavy traffic volume, and how to coordinate those together. And then the reinvestment areas along the highway. You know, I've lived in Arizona for a really long time, and I always thought of Prescott Valley as what I could see from the highway, which until I turned off to come to a Northern Arizona Wranglers football game last year, I didn't realize some of the things were back here. And that, I think, is a common perception that you can work on, is to say, how do we have reinvestment along the highway so that people take note that Prescott Valley is here, it's positive, it's growing, there are good things if you just turn right off of the highway. So those are all things that we're looking at. And varied housing choices, that's something your community wanted as well. Apartments, attractive apartments, other kinds of things, so that you have a complement of housing types, so you have choices for residents. Housing choices is a very key issue as well for your community. So, and on the downside of that, unfortunately, some people had some concerns about housing discrimination. And so we said we want to reinforce that there is no housing discrimination in Prescott Valley. It's not tolerated, it isn't accepted, and we want to put that right in our plan right up front. Another area that we've looked at and worked with John on is water conservation. Big issue throughout Arizona, but here particularly because of the constraints you have to your water portfolio. So you'll see more information on conservation and more information on planting low water use indigenous plants. So Prescott Valley looks more like it did 100 years ago with the plantings rather than imported plantings and plantings that don't belong here. We're really going to focus on trying to make it look more like a natural community. This is the circulation plan. Made a lot of comments and changes on it. You'll see some new streets on there. We're planning on where will the streets be in the future as the area around the community starts to develop. So we have more streets going to the east. We have more streets going to the north. We've added street designations as far as what's a collector street, what's a minor arterial street, so that people know who live along that street that there's going to be more traffic in the future. There might be more widening of the street in the future. We might have more, traffic signals and higher speed limits so that people know if they live there on that street, it could change in the future as the community continues to grow. So we wanted to be sure that's up to date, and we put more street names on there. We have the Jasper Parkway there on the left. We have the Sundog Parkway shown because those are being talked about now. Hopefully they'll come to fruition in the future. But we tried to update that with all of the information that we have that we thought your residents and the development community would find helpful.
Sorry.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, Mr. Ballmer, can you go back one, please? Thank you for changing Bradshaw Mountain to a collector. My neighbors are going to be thrilled. I remember talking to Norm a while back about Antelope Meadows Drive north of Pronghorn, that maybe that should be a collector also. Because it's only one lane in each direction. There's no room to expand it, much like Bradshaw Mountain. We're putting a ton of crosswalks on that road.
Well, that's something we can check with Norm on, is we asked for his input on how does he see the street network developing in terms of traffic volume and future improvements. So we can relay that on to Norm, your concern, and get his input on that.
You understand what I'm asking, Roger? No. So Antelope Road is green up on the very top. Do you see that?
Yep.
So green can be up to 5 lanes.
Okay.
So 2 lanes in each direction and a turn lane, and there's no room for that out there on Antelope. Much like Bradshaw Mountain, there was no room for it. We changed Bradshaw Mountain to a collector, which means it'll stay at 3 lanes. And I'm thinking because we're investing in all the crosswalks there, and it is going to be a very walkable street with no room to expand, that too should be a collector.
Okay, great. This can still be updated, and we appreciate your input on those.
And, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and just kind of tied into that, just so everyone understands, when developments like that come in, it's really important that if you are going to have a minor collector, having multiple lanes, you've got to have sufficient, not only the right-of-way, but the buffer area beyond that, what happens in these neighborhoods and why we had to change the Bradshaw Mountain Road one is if you were to go in and actually widen the road to the full width within what's been designated as right-of-way, you will cut out all of the current landscaping, and it'll be the back of someone's yard, their fence, the sidewalk, and then road, sidewalk, and backyard. It just becomes a thoroughfare through the middle. If you look at, with true collector, like at Glassford Hill, you've got a sufficient enough right-of-way and open space area that the homes are not right on top of that.
Yeah. But we can certainly look at that. I mean, because there's still fine-tuning to be done on any of these maps.
So what this book right here is what's going to go to P&Z on Monday?
Yes,
And is this what's going to go to the community in 2 weeks?
yes.
So any comments we have today would not be presented. There'll be amendments after 2 weeks from Monday.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
But we will, because we have your comments, when we do the presentations to the Planning Commission, we will say, we reviewed this with the council last Thursday. This is their input for your consideration. So, but we'll go through those. The most important thing about that is as people buy property and people look to invest in property, they want to know, what is your street system going to look like? So that's why we thought that was a key one to update, and we'll be glad to go back and take another look at that street. On the land use one, we haven't changed too many things. You see, we still have our PAD areas around the side. We didn't change many colors. People have asked, could you please make our low-density area medium-density residential? Can I get commercial on my corner? Can whatever? We have not done those. We don't want to make changes that the community hadn't seen and have it come forward then to you at the election and people saying, why did you change my property? The developer might be interested in that, but that's kind of their ball to carry. They need to come to you and explain why they would like to make a change in the general plan so you can consider it on its own. We didn't want to kind of slide it into the general plan and have people sort of overlook it. So you don't see many of those.
Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely, go ahead.
So, Mr. Ballmer and Gilbert, I know Councilwoman Hepperly asked to take this Village PADD1 off up here because that's Copperfield, right?
Yeah, and especially more so on the future annexations map, that's still shown in yellow as a future annexation. And, I mean, it's Copperfield now. It's 4-acre minimum, unregulated wells, septic. Mm-hmm. There's no way that shouldn't ever get incorporated now at this point. Like, he had his chance to incorporate and he chose not to, which is fine, but I just don't think that it should be reflected on any of our maps as a possible future annexation or that we have plans for it.
Okay. Well, in your planning area, essentially, one of the things you're saying is we may annex some of these things in the future, or we may have to have defined county islands. Mesa has that, and a lot of communities have those, to say basically within our planning area, this is a defined county island. We're not intending to annex it. And that may be what we do here.
Right, but we don't talk about that in this book. And if we're going to do that, we should probably talk about it, right?
If that's something you choose to do. But on some of those, we can go through and amend the maps easy enough. We have those that we can update.
So, Gilbert, I personally think that you look at this map and 50% of it's in the town and 50% of its potential growth. And that, I think that's scary because I don't know that we have the resources to grow 50% more. And so I think in my mind, it would be better to focus on reducing some of the blue that we know for sure is not a growth area for us, like Councilwoman Hepperly just said on that Village PADD1. So maybe that's something we can focus on before we finalize this.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, it was kind of my thinking, and I haven't really talked much with Mr. Ballmer and Mr. Gonzalez on this, but getting us through this process because of a statutory deadline and then taking, you know, maybe we do some revisions at the midpoint before we have to do this all over again, and really kind of spend some time digging in and kind of thinking all of this. There's a lot of things that we're beginning to talk about and envision for the future. If there's immediate things that we can change on this, that I certainly, you know, we can certainly look at that.
Yes.
But we might want to peel off a separate process in a few years and just really dig in terms of where the community's going, what are those growth areas, what's realistic, what's not, and then spend that time, you know, in that particular.
Yeah. But
So if you're looking for direction tonight, I personally don't want to have county islands on our map for future development that we will never annex. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I don't think we should do that. So,
My biggest concern is that it seems like it would raise questions, you know, especially to those people who live in Viewpoint and I'm sure are not very happy about the Copperfield construction, and then they look at this map and it makes it look like, I don't know, like we have a plan in our back pocket or, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, if you look to the east of the map over just east of pad 711, you know, Coyote Crest is there and it's just white because we didn't have to specifically designate it a county area. It just is a county area. We're not ever planning on annexing it. So that's just my concern.
then Wayne, I asked a couple times, could we turn Quailwood yellow? So it's like a real-life community and not a growth area since it's been there over 20 years,
Sure.
down in the lower right.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's any other areas like that that are in town and developed that could be turned a color so they're not blue and considered growth areas.
Question, Lori, when we were talking about Village Pad D1, wasn't the south half of that going to be, and wasn't that like section 33 or something? And weren't we going to annex that into the town and the other north part was going to go to the county?
If you flip over to map 32, which might be the next slide, you can see
What page are you on, just so everybody's on the same page?
32. Isn't it 32 on the bottom? You can see 33 and 34, and they're below Village Pad D1.
Okay.
So basically, Pad 3-1 is and then right and next to it, I believe, is the area that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
That's right.
Okay. So any other questions on land use, if we'd like to?
And just, I'm sorry, I might have missed it in regards to the deal with AED and the city of Prescott where they'll be watering, which section is it? Just so I'm on the same page, and is that reflected on the map?
It's section 33.
Is it
32, or 32, and then there's the 33, and then the 34 one is the North Glassford Hill Road.
And that's reflected on this then?
This we'll have to update the line on this, so.
No.
Just because it's already been decided with the city of Prescott, we should probably have it in our general plan.
Yes.
Although Mr. Giese hasn't approached the town at this time,
Yeah.
it's been discussed with the city of Prescott,
Sure.
so we should probably implement it on
Oh,
our
yes.
general plan.
And that's one of those things between fall and now that's new that we need to add to
Okay,
our
I just
draft.
want to make sure that is reflected or at least discussed with
Yes,
the public.
will add that.
In the future. Thank you.
good.
So are you saying that Geese's isn't on here?
No. Correct.
Why, if we have an agreement with them, why wouldn't that be on our general plan that we're doing for 10 years?
It will be.
Yeah, we're
But
going to
it's not,
update.
it's white.
We'll have to
it's not
update this.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we did this map, was the agreement in place or is it after we did this map?
Yes, it had been in place, it just has not been brought into the planning
Oh,
part of this.
okay.
yeah.
So then, just so I understand, Wayne, I'm sorry. So 2 weeks from Monday, after those comments, we can turn this area blue
Oh, yes,
because we have an agreement.
yes,
Okay, cool, thank you.
yes. Yeah, there'll be, I would appreciate if, I will be here tomorrow, I'll be here Monday afternoon. I'd be glad to meet with anybody about any additional comments after tonight's meeting, so we can keep one master list of all the changes we'd like to make. Good. Thank you. State land. The state had quite a few comments. Most of them were about, don't forget the state has land available for development. Can you please show more roads coming to the state property so that we see how we're going to access our land in the future? They wanted us to highlight, like this slide shows, the sections that are state land so people know where the state land starts and the private land ends. So we highlighted those on this map. And we've sent this to the state. They're comfortable with it. So the next steps after tonight's meeting are, thank you for the comments. We'd like to get more. We will be at the Planning Commission Monday night in this room. Comments from the public. 2 weeks from Monday, we will be over at the school district, and it will be 5:30. And again, we're going to do some publicity about that to get people to come if they're interested. It will be back to you on the 12th. We have a draft resolution. You may have it already. Ivan has been good enough to get that done in advance so we all can look at it. And it will be on your approval. From then, Fatima will make sure it gets to Yavapai County to be included on the ballot, and we will see it on the November ballot. So thank you for your time. If you have any other questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
I have some more comments I can send to you if you'd like.
Please.
I don't know if you want me to go over them now or not.
Well, if you have them in writing, that way we can keep them. We're going to keep a log of all the changes.
Okay.
Council, anything else for Mr. Vollmer? Ultimately, it's great because it goes in front of the voters. And we get
Yes.
to hear, they're the ones that ultimately decide on this. So
Yes.
I look forward to their comments at Planning and Zoning. I look forward to Planning and Zoning's comments as well as the school moving forward.
Yes.
I think it's just, you've done an amazing job with the short period of time you've had. It's just trying to just clean up this final bit, and I think
Yes.
we'll be where we need to be.
And you'll see, Mayor, we included the ones you wanted on education and public safety.
Absolutely. So I think that's important.
Yeah. And as Mr. Gilbert said, general plans don't have to go for 10 years. You can do them shorter periods of time if you think there's significant changes in your community.
Right.
So it's not, cast in stone for the next 10 years.
Mr. Davison, you just want to add anything to this for council?
Nothing. I'll work with Mr. Balmer and the staff on trying to make sure we, when it comes back to you for final approval before it goes on to the legal element and postings and all that, that we've reflected some of these changes.
If we can, we should try to get as many of them done for that second meeting in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission as possible, because they'll be making a formal recommendation to you to approve. Doesn't mean that the council can't change it afterwards, but the better process would be for it to be in a good position on April 28th so that when you get it on May 12th, you just ratify it.
I think Mr. Vollmer has explained that he's going to be here tomorrow as well as Monday. So if we can, as a council, make sure we reach out
Yes.
and email Mr. Vollmer to clarify
That
whatever
would be great.
issues we may have.
Is what we will be doing tomorrow is in the packet that you received previously, you had the pages and then yellow highlighting for the things we changed. We'll be doing that again for the Planning Commission for Monday so that they have that and we can hand it to them and say, these are the changes we have thus far. If you have additional changes, we will add those on yellow pages. And then when they get it on the 25th, they will be incorporated.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Balmer, how do we get those? Can we get those like tomorrow? The yellow sheet that you're going to give to P&Z, or is it not ready yet?
I'm hoping to get your comments so I can make them into the yellow sheet.
Oh, so you want our comments to go on a yellow sheet for Monday?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Could you repeat the dates again and the times and where we're going to be?
Certainly. The first meeting will be next Monday, 5:30 p.m. in this room with the Planning Commission, and they will see generally the same presentation you saw this evening, plus some additional materials, because they will now have the book. They have not seen this yet. We just got them back from the printers. And then on the 25th at 5:30 p.m., we'll be out at the school district facility on Robert Road, where their board meets. We will be in their room, and we will be having the presentation at 5:30 at that location. And we will also be doing a press release that has information and a phone number people can contact if they have any questions.
You mentioned May 12th. What is that?
That is your meeting. That's the big show, is when it comes to you.
Anything else for Mr. Ballmer? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
With that being said, folks, this is it for the evening. Have a great night.